In China, misinformation and propaganda often creates gaps in communication between family generations. One person, Mr. Ye, told us he feels like a victim of the CCP-made tragedy. Ye is an international student from China. After spending several years in the U.S., he found himself unable to communicate with his parents in China. He says he believes they've been brainwashed by the Communist Party's propaganda. That's because Mr. Ye talks to them about what he's seen, read, and experienced in the U.S. They refuse to listen to him. Ye's time overseas helped him gradually realize the importance of having access to truthful, uncensored information. Ye told us his aversion to the CCP began when he learned about the real meaning of China's five-starred red flag. Children in China are told from an early age that the country's national flag is dyed with the blood of martyrs. And the large star on the flag stands for the CCP, while the four smaller ones represent the party's central leadership. While in college, he often spoke privately with a Christian pastor who explained how the CCP suppresses churches and people's religious faith. In China, only churches that follow the CCP's rules are allowed to exist, but they're still subject to restrictions on their religious freedom. Churches independent of the CCP are completely suppressed. After college, Ye went on to study with a top Chinese expert for his master's degree in an AI-related field. He says he was full of passion at first, but began to think differently after realizing even many Chinese-American scientists end up working for the CCP.
I'm not opposed to doing scientific research, I just don't want to do it for the CCP.
In the end, he decided to stay in the U.S. and study the subjects he's most passionate about, theology and filmmaking. When in America, Ye says he's been following NTD News for virus information since the outbreak began in China. According to him, the more he learned about China's virus cover-up, the more his revulsion toward the regime grew.
I've been following the updates from NTD TV since the beginning of the virus outbreak. Now, I've become more and more disgusted by the CCP.
Chinese state-run media underreported China's virus cases and the severity of the situation. Instead, coverage was focused on the pandemic in other countries. As a result, Ye's parents, relatives, and friends in China were led to believe that the U.S. was overrun by the virus, and that China was the safest country with very few positive cases. He explained that they became very worried about him and repeatedly asked him to return to China. But after seeing reports from outside China about what's really happening, including China's current flood disaster and the famine that's likely to follow, he said he doesn't dare to go back.
If I go back and cannot find a job, my parents would have to support me. If I publicly stand up and blame the CCP, I may be arrested. I get anxious about it sometimes, but the anti-CCP trend is getting stronger and stronger.
Ye says he feels sad that he must remain separated from his family while he chooses to stay far away from the regime. Yet he says everyone must keep up their efforts to expose the Communist Party. He says he believes that when the party eventually falls, all that was lost will be regained. Reporting by Gu Xiaohua and Xi Wenhui, NTD News.